Another blitz. Hurts takes it right up the gut. Touchdown Eagles. Here's the deep ball. Got hit as he let it go. Oh, Devontae Smith. What a catch. From 54 for the win. On the way. It is there. And the Eagles remain unbeaten.
Hello again. Welcome back to the Flyin Style podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, Steven Masllij.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Come back.
As you can tell by our monotone voices, it hasn't been a great week in Philadelphia. We took a harsh loss to the San Francisco 49ers this week, 42-19. Second loss of the season. The Eagles fall to 10-2. Masllij and I were both at the game. It was definitely a fun atmosphere, but it was unfortunately not what we were looking for in that outcome. So obviously we're going to jump right into it. Masllij, I want to hear your thoughts on the game, what you were thinking, what you were seeing.
So I have one word to describe this game, and it's embarrassing. I'm going to be using that term a lot today. This game, 6 straight drives of them getting a touchdown in the second quarter, the second half. It was straight embarrassing. There's no other way around it. After the first quarter, we fell off a cliff. Defensively, we looked horrific. Offensively, 1, we couldn't finish drives. 2, it was just a slaughter fest. And just it came out with more aggression. They came out with more passion. We couldn't tackle in the middle of the field whatsoever. Nicholas Morrow was a pinball machine out there. I believe they had 156 yards after contact. And this game was just all around just dominated by the 49ers. And as much as I didn't expect us to win every single game this year, and no one expects us, when you look at the schedule, you don't look at it and go, we're going 17-0 this year. And if you say we're at 10-2 after week 13, there's no problem with that, right? You can't expect the team. We have the best record in the league still, right? It's just when you're at home against a team that is coming off revenge, they're coming with more passion and more aggression, but we just got beat down. That's the reason I do embarrassing is because even if we don't win this game, I just didn't want us to see us just. It was just sad. It was hard to watch, and I was not very happy. If a ton of aspects after, the first quarter, and you go through this after the second, but after that, it was horrific. And I'll give your initial thoughts instead of now go into details.
No, you pretty much nailed it. I'll take one last shot at the 49ers fans just to go to say that, this was their Super Bowl to them. This meant a lot to them. They had more revenge on their minds. They had more intent on their minds. And they came and showed it. Simply, we didn't show up. We played for the first quarter. We looked great coming out of the gate, like you said. I have some stats here. Obviously, we killed it in the first quarter. We had 22 plays to their 3, 120 yards to their -2, and 11:57 time of possession to their 102. Coming out of the gate, it looked like we were dominating every facet of the ball. We were coming out hot on the defensive line. We weren't giving them any openings in the passing game, and we came and drove right down the field both times. But the problem is, driving down the field both those times, we came out of it with 3 points each, 6 points, and I think that's really where we went wrong. If you come out of that with 14 points, that changes the trajectory of the game drastically. And, it was the story of our game. We couldn't finish drives for the life of us. It was one of our few games this year without any turnovers. We were moving the ball. Jalen Hurts, finished with almost 300 yards and a touchdown. He really didn't play that bad. A.J. Brown had 114 yards and 8 receptions. Devontae Smith had a touchdown. But we just weren't finishing drives, To finish the game with 19 points with those kinds of stats, it just goes to show that, we weren't doing our thing. And like you said, the defense looked horrific. Not only are we the 32nd ranked pass defense in the entire league, but our linebackers are a glaring problem now with the way that the ball gets thrown over the middle of the field. a problem all year, but because we've kept games close up till now, you don't worry about it too much. But when you see a blowout like this, it's definitely, it's on every team's radar now, because now that gives the blueprint to the other teams. And coming into Dallas this week with Jake Ferguson, he already torched us the first game, just running up the seam. And I'm sure they're going to be going right back to it again this game, throwing it over the middle to them after they saw what they saw from our linebackers. And it's a scary thought. I mean, our middle of the field is atrocious. And not to mention the fact that, we talked about the fact that almost none of their big gains were, over the top. They weren't getting, big yardage plays on us over through the air. It was all on the ground after contact, and or yards after the catch. I mean, Deebo Samuel with a 12-yard run. Deebo Samuel with a 48-yard pass from Brock Purdy that he took from behind the line. Another 46-yard pass from Brock Purdy that he took from behind the line. We just let Deebo run all over us. We couldn't tackle for the life of us. And
3 touchdowns.
It was unbelievable.
He backed it up.
And all 3 of them came from behind the line. Yep. And that can't happen. You got too many guys in the field to let that kind of thing happen 3 times in the game. And simply, they got to get to the drawing board this week. They got to get back to tackling drills, and they got to figure out how to cover up that middle of the field better, because Sean Desai's zone is just not working out. I'm not going to fully discredit Desai. I had some problems with him early in the year. I haven't, I think he's done a little bit better with the play calling, and I think the secondary isn't quite what we wanted it to be this year in terms of the talent and ability. I think we had – I'm not giving up on Slay and Bradbury yet, but they haven't exactly impressed this year. We put way too much faith in our linebacking core with no depth behind it. And, we do have to address the safety position too. I mean, Reed Blankenship somehow is leading the Pro Bowl votes for strong safeties, which I do like Reed, and I think he does a decent job. But I think that his good plays that he has overshadow the rest of the game, where he's, running behind somebody trying to catch him. And, I just think that this secondary is in shambles right now, and they really got to get back to the drawing board and adjust and figure out what they're going to do about it this week, because Dallas has been torching people all season, and they've been doing it the past 3 weeks. And I know they're going to be ready for us in their home stadium.
Yeah. It's disgusting. And even to flip the side of the ball because I'll talk about the offense a little bit. We had our running backs touch the ball 9 times total. We had Swift touch it 6 times. We had Gatty Gainwell get it 2 times. We had Boston Scott touch it once. How are you going to be able to establish a run game whatsoever when you don't give these guys any touches? First off, Kenny Gainwell out-snapped Swift in the first half. It was like 56 to like 46%-ish, almost split. I just don't understand how you're not. And I saw the guys outside the stadium this morning or yesterday morning having the run the ball sign. And it's not obviously the game script didn't lead into running the ball, right? It's not like obviously when we got down pretty big, we weren't trying to establish that. So these stats are kind of like skewed, but at the same token, you have to establish a run game at some point in this game. When the Niners came out with McCaffrey, they were getting stopped. Like they just kept going back to him. After the first quarter, they were literally not able to run the ball, right? And I guess I'll give credit to our defense, but more credit to their offense, because Kyle Shanahan was able to put people in motion. I'm not saying you have to go straight up the middle, like, oh, we're doing a halfback dive here. We're just going to halfback stretch here, toss here. It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't. I just want to get Swift more involved. I want to get our run game going. That way it opens up the field for Jalen Hurts to establish his running ability. Is for him to pass the ball down the field. You can't have no run game with running backs. And it's like disgusting to me. It doesn't, and I'm not.
No, I completely agree. I mean, we've talked about it all year, and we've talked about the fact that the run game just hasn't been consistent enough, and the run game is completely what opens up the rest of the game. It draws the linebackers in. It brings the safeties down. Then you get to take your shots over the top with a play action or a deep ball. It opens up the field. It moves the defense around. It keeps them on their toes. The run game isn't there for no reason. And like you said with the 49ers, we shut them down in the first quarter. But did that stop them from running the ball the rest of the game? No. Christian McCaffrey finished with 98 yards and a touchdown with was it 19 carries? 17 carries. My apologies. And that's my point. You can't stop running the ball. It matters. And clearly, obviously we don't have Christian McCaffrey on our team, but you got to keep running the ball. I was happy to hear that Nick Sirianni, said in his press conference that he does understand and he hears and he saw that sign and that he agrees that we do need to run the ball more. And I love hearing that from him. I'm glad he's aware of it at the very least, because holy crap, it seems like he hasn't been for 12 weeks of the season after, being the number one rushing team in the league last year. It is so weird how we keep bouncing back and forth from being run heavy to not running at all. And it would be one thing if the passing game was clicking on all cylinders, but it's not. So it just doesn't make sense from a coaching standpoint. And I think you do have to put blame on the coaches in that regard, because
you get the best line in the league.
You do. And you got to use it. You got to use all your stuff. And we've talked about it a million times. And I will continue to say no disrespect to Gainwell, but put Swift in the freaking game. It's so simple. He's still the fourth leading back in the league, even though we don't use him. I don't get it. Just put the guy in the game. He does things. He does a better job. He has a better first step to the ball. He's faster. He runs harder. He doesn't fumble as much. He should just be on the field more often. He's a more dynamic playmaker.
I don't have word. I just don't get it. And I know I'm not gonna call in to WIP and be like, I can coach this team better. I can do this. I'm not trying to be that guy. It's just like how it just, you have the ability to, right? And it just, why not use it? You have the
exactly.
tools.
It's not like we know a better job than the coaches do, but at the same time, to an extent, I feel like that's what everybody's problem is. It's like, I feel like everyone and their grandmother is saying, it's a pretty obvious reason, run the ball. Just run the damn ball. It's like, we're just not, I feel like they're just ignoring it. And like, they show flashes of it for a drive or two, and then they just abandon it for the rest of the game. And it's just baffling to me. And if they go behind in a game, forget it. You're not seeing the run game the rest of the game. It's just the way they play.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. Another thing that upsets me was David Carr's quote. Did you hear that?
Oh my gosh. I don't even want to give it the time of day just because it's like, that's the most we can talk about it.
I'll give the quote out for the people I'll give the quote out for the people that didn't hear it. Clearly, Jalen isn't comfortable reading a defense in a drop back pass. Some would say he's not good at it. Goes on. You have to have a serious conversation about Marcus Mariota starting right now and letting Jalen Hurts get fully healthy. He'd be more productive. End quote. Dude.
Simply, it's just it is the stupidest take I've ever heard on national television. He was the odds-on favorite for MVP last week. He has 10 wins this year in 12 weeks. Let me go ahead and tell you David Carr's record as a QB. He has 33 wins in his career. Jalen has a third of that this year. The guy, it's just such an irrelevant, that was such a clickbait freaking video. And I hate giving it the time of day because that's all it was. That was just a horrible take. It was even worse than the Max Kellerman Iguodala, rant. And at least that was funny,
Dude, I think he was serious.
He was dead serious. And that's just absolutely blasphemous. And it's I can't even,
This league is so week to week that it's insane. Like, you go from Jalen, like you said, odds on favorite MVP. Not only odds on favorite, everyone's like, Jalen's the man. He finds a way to win. This and that. Until we get stomped. And don't just give Jalen the blame. It was our defense. It was our entire offense.
Jalen actually played a pretty good game.
I felt like Lane and Mailata did their thing on the outside. Our interior line was the problem. But despite that, it's so week to week how the Eagles are we going from up here to beating KC, beating the Bills, and beating Dallas before the bye week, and then it's just like they stink. They're never going to do anything anymore. It's Jalen stinks. Oh, we can't do anything. Our defense is the worst thing ever to exist. And it's like
we saw it coming. I mean, hanging on by a thread the past few weeks, and to get, like you were saying earlier, it's one thing for a 10-2 team or 10-1 team to lose. Like, that's okay, but it is definitely a different story to get stomped, because then it does come into question how valid this team is. And we obviously had this conversation last week about, the fact that we feel like they are valid. They find ways to win games. But this has been the scare all season, and it came to fruition, and it came to light, and now everybody sees it. It's open to the public. And, we saw this coming. We saw the way that the national media has been talking about them as being half fraudulent all year. And, the second they were going to be, we were going to hear it. But, the Eagles fall from the number 1 seed in the NFC to the number 1 seed in the NFC.
That was the funniest thing.
We can get over it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. We just have to move on to the next week and make adjustments. And, this team does have concerns. They have a very, open defense. They are not playing tight defense right now, simply. And they need to wake the fuck up over there. Otherwise, we're going to struggle when it comes into playoff time. But it doesn't mean we still can't beat these teams. Like, I'm not worried about it. We just beat all those teams. We're halfway through the gauntlet and we lost one of these games. It's like we're still doing better than, a lot of people even expected going into this 5-game stretch. A lot of people had us losing 2 of these games. And, like, it is what it is. So, the season is a long season, and, we're bound to lose a couple games, and 10-2 is a hell of a record. But, Dallas is still going to be, especially for the second time, is going to be one of their toughest matches of the year. Probably their second or third. So, and this game is going to make a big impact on the NFC playoff picture moving forward. So the Eagles are going to have to come out with something to prove this week. They have to prove, once again, that they're the best team in the NFL, and they got to keep their status as the number 1 team in the NFC. And they have something to prove now. They might not have had they won that game, and I'm not saying, it's a good thing that they lost or anything, but hopefully it's a wake-up call for them to, kick it into high gear going into playoffs, and maybe we'll catch wind at the right time.
I 100% agree. And just looking ahead, just because we're going into Dallas, this is Dallas's gauntlet right now for them. They haven't played this. They're going to be playing the Eagles. Then they're going to go to Buffalo. Then they're going to go to Miami, and then they're home against Detroit. Like, they don't get easier for Dallas. Like, it gets. I'm not going to try to discredit hi Aiden and Hunter. I think the Giants really do suck, and I will say that out loud. But we play them. We play the Giants twice. After we play Dallas, and we play.
I know how much it meant for you to say that.
it was Craig and Aiden. I said Hunter, but I didn't mean to throw him in there. But yeah, I need to give them a shout out because they listen to the podcast just to laugh.
Shout out to you guys.
And hate. So we play Seattle, then we play the Giants, and then we play Arizona, and then the Giants again. I'm not even trying to look past. I'm just looking at the entire season as a whole because that's what it is as a whole. And
we're through our gauntlet. We're just about through our gauntlet. This is the last game of our gauntlet, and then we do have an easier ride to the end of the year. And before anybody even tries to defend them, yes, the Cardinals and the Giants are pretty much a cakewalk. We do have to play the Seahawks, and that's going to be a tough game still. But
all right, let's dive into the Cowboys. So I'm not trying to look past the Cowboys. I'm just saying it's never the end of the world. You don't want to get embarrassed, and I really was very upset we did. But if we can go 14, even if I don't want to lose to Dallas, but even we go 14-3, it's not whatever. Anyway, talking about a team that just played Seattle, the Dallas Cowboys are coming off that Thursday night football game against Seattle where they were able to move the ball. Gino was able to move the ball on them a lot. It looked like a very close game, and even at one point, I really thought Seattle was going to win. But Dak has played very well this year. He played amazing against us. He played basically perfect football against Seattle in that game. What are the keys in this game that you want to see from the Eagles on our side, and how can we get past the Dallas on their side of defense?
I mean, I think a lot of the things I'd like to see are easier said than done. But one of the first things I want to see is to try to make Dak a little more uncomfortable and put more pressure on him. I felt like last game we didn't put pressure on him. I've had a rough time of putting pressure on quarterbacks all year. And I think that Dak, when under pressure, is mistake prone. And I feel like this year he's had a very good O-line. He hasn't been very mistake prone this year. This is probably his best season of his career. And he's in the MVP conversation. I think he might have been listening to the podcast in the offseason because he's really been proving me wrong, that's for sure. And I hate to say it, but he's doing a good job this year, and we need to put him in an uncomfortable situation all game where he can't just pick us apart because he is capable of doing it. And secondly, we got to do something about covering Jake Ferguson because, obviously, like we talked about, that middle of the field has been our kryptonite all year, and the Cowboys already knew that because they exposed it last game. And we're going to have to do something to cover that up and make sure that's not a problem this game because they're going to be keen on it. So
what are your thoughts about signing Shaq Leonard? And obviously we're going to get Zach Cunningham coming back as well off an injury. What do you think of Shaq Leonard, and what do you think that's going to how significant do you think that's going to help us?
I think it's going to be much more significant than I think people are going to give it credit for right now, because I know people have been saying that Shaq Leonard wasn't playing his best football since his injuries, and and he's had a slow season. He got cut. Everybody's going to say this and that about it, but I think no matter what way you look at it, he's immediately an upgrade from what we have right now. Like you said, Morrow has really been a revolving door. Christian Ellis is not playing well. He's not supposed to be playing. What'd you say?
I think he released him.
Who? Morrow?
Ellis, did
we?
I think so. I think I saw that earlier this week.
Oh, we might have had to make room for Shaq Leonard. I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably on a practice squad. But yeah, it's like.
But immediately he becomes the man with the most experience, and he has the I can't think of the right word, the resume. He has the full resume, and I'm excited to see what he can do. But I think that it's huge that we're getting Zach Cunningham back this week because it does allow us time to, work him in slowly, let him get his reps without starting the whole game, and get a feel for this defense before we just throw him into the mix. Because if Zach Cunningham wasn't playing this week, that's what we would have had to do. And that would have been scary, and he would have been prone to mistakes. And I'm glad to see that we can work them back slowly together. And I do think that our linebacking core gets immediately better with both those guys.
I 100% agree. Last game, we saw CD have one of a game of his life against us. I'm going to pull up the stats right now. But he had 11 receptions for 191 yards. Even reading the stat line back just makes me want to puke. Obviously, there was concerns that in the beginning of the game, that's disgusting, dude. There's concerns because Scott was on him earlier in the game. What adjustments do you want Slay or Bradbury following him? What adjustments can we make to limit him? I mean, he's been phenomenal ever since week 4. But especially against us, I feel like he has a game. I hate reading that stat line.
I know. I mean, I think that you pretty much said it. I mean, we had 2 rookies trying to cover CeeDee Lamb the whole game. We had Josiah Scott and Eli Ricks covering him the majority of the time, which was just idiotic from the start. I think the best thing you can do is to have one of Bradbury or Slay on him, and preferably some safety help over the top. And I'm thinking there's a pretty good chance you're going to see a lot of cover 1 in this game because you're going to have the safety dropping down trying to help in the middle or on CeeDee Lamb. And I think that's the best thing you can do against it and obviously you're going to have to mix it up as much as possible. So it's, you're not just running the same defense over and over again, but we need that help in the middle. And, like I've mentioned, I feel like we haven't been getting beat over the top a whole lot. It's usually coming from run after the catch over the middle or, a short screen or curl route that, turns into a 15, 20 yard gain or whatever. So I think dropping some extra people into the box is going to help. And I think that, you've got to have one of your best cornerbacks on their best receiver at all times. I think that's, to me, that I think that's an easy decision.
I mean, yeah, our majority coverage we've been playing all year is cover 3. So, and for you guys don't know, it's the deep thirds for the safeties and the corners. But that's why we've been conservative, and I don't want to.
Yeah, you take people out of the middle, and it's then you've got a thin spread in the middle and a deep spread in the back. Like, yes, you're keeping everything in front of you, but it's not going to win you games that way. You can't run it all the time like we have been.
And but I just really don't want to see Dak throw for another 350-yard game against us. I know that's a lot to ask, apparently. And I want to stick Dallas's run game. Pollard hasn't been got the ball because Dak has been so dominant, and they have been able to pass it on all these teams. But we keep saying this, but they haven't been playing anyone good.
No, they haven't. I was actually laughing. I was watching ESPN earlier, and they were talking about the Eagles-Cowboys game, and they were hyping up the Cowboys as they do on national television. And I was just, my dad and I happened to be noticing that every single highlight they showed was against the Giants, the Panthers, the Patriots, the Cardinals. It was just they do really well against bad teams, absolutely, but they haven't played a lot of good teams. And like you mentioned, they're just starting to get into their gauntlet of the rest of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. Everybody was talking about how we were going to handle our gauntlet. Now it's time to see how they do. They've got something to prove here, and they've still got a lot to play for to win this division. So they're not out of it. They're right on the cusp, and this stretch is going to matter a lot.
But the fact that after our game that they lost, you basically named them in order. The Giants, Carolina, Washington, and then you have that Seattle game that was very close. Those Giants, Carolina, Washington, you can't oh, look at this team. This is obviously we struggled against Washington, so but we always do. I don't like saying that.
We do always struggle against Washington.
I don't like saying that as a cliche. As it's not an excuse. We did struggle against them. But it's to give them credit for beating the Carolina Panthers, who have one win this year, the Giants, who is starting Tommy DeVito. Again, I will shout those stupid people out because they put me in a group that says "Die Eagles Die," and I hate them. And then you play a Washington secondary that doesn't. I might be able to go out there and give up 3,000 yards. Their secondary is so bad, and as much as we want to talk about how crappy the Eagles played, are they any better? When the 49ers played at Dallas, or Dallas played at the 49ers, it was 42-10. So Dallas fans could shut up real quick, okay? So,
no, they're not better. We're 10-2 and they're 9-3 for a reason, and we talked about this the last time, It was a 28-23 game. It was a close game. It came down to the wire. It came down to a couple inches on a few plays, and we are virtually the same team. I hate to admit. Cowboys are a very good team, and it's pretty much a 50-50 shot every time we play them. But they're by no means better than us. Yes, they go in and handle the teams that they're supposed to handle, which we have not been doing so much of this year. But, the first team that they beat over 500 was the Seahawks, and they barely pulled that one out. So they're not that much better. They're not any better. They're doing the same kinds of things. They just blow out the teams and run up the scores on the bad teams, which we do not. We do play down to the other team's level. Otherwise, we're the same team, man.
We're the same team, but we could have a run game if we ran the ball. Dallas doesn't run the ball as much, but when they do, Pollard only has over 100 yards once this year, and that's against a crappy Cardinals team.
They don't use them much. They really don't.
Cardinals defense, their team's not that bad. Whatever, they suck. But nonetheless, good for Kyler for coming back. Whatever. I don't want to talk about the Cardinals right now, but if we can keep Mika out of this game, keep the Marcus Lawrence away from Hurts, I think this defense. I think Bland is literally Diggs 2.0. he has all these pick sixes. Everyone wants to talk about that. He has, which is incredible. I think he has almost 6, maybe 6, 7. Maybe help me out.
I think he has 5 pick sixes, but I think he has 6 interceptions.
Either way, he's Diggs 2.0 because you saw him get owned by DK, and I hope AJ Brown could do a similar thing this game. But going into this game, I really, really, really would like to see us establish our offense as not just AJ Brown, DeMonta Smith, and good news. Also, we get Dallas Goedert back this week, most likely.
Yes, we do.
So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's confirmed.
Yeah, I think it's confirmed. I didn't want to overstep. I wanted to make sure, but yeah, that helps a ton because
absolutely it opens up another portion of the field.
I hate to bring up. I don't even want to bring up David Carr again, but he goes on to pick out the game tape of explaining his reasoning, right? And he shows Jack Stoll running like an hour out on the other side of the field. He's like, he's wide open here. Dude, he's not looking at Jack Stoll as even his 4th option sometimes. Like he'll look at the running back before he looks at
AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and DeAndre Swift on the field. He's not looking for Jack Stoll.
Where's Zacchaeus and Kez? Like,
granted, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. A good quarterback does scan the entire field. However, I think that is a poor choice of tape to critique like that.
When he's getting pressure in his face, he can always sometimes go through so many options. Like and I know Hurts did hold the ball a little too long at times, but the coverage was there. They played very.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing for sure that I noticed watching from watching in the stands. You get to see the coverages, you get to see what's going on downfield. They were blanketed, the majority of the time. They really, on plays where Hurts was taking sacks, I would say probably 99% of those plays, maybe 95, they were not open. Simply, nobody was, except maybe Jack Stoll on a single play.
And then it's like even in the end zone when Ward and AJ are gonna Ward played the best defense I've seen him play all year. That was their weakness, and they really stepped up to the plate. And I got to give the Niners some credit for that too. Like they played good football.
A hell of a game, and they didn't give up after they were out of the first quarter.
No, not at all. And it didn't even seem like it phased them, which is good for them. And that's a scary team. That's honestly, that's probably
it's the scariest team. Absolutely,
it's probably number 1 in the power rankings right now. Like for anyone, you have to. They beat us. I mean, we have a better record, and I'm not saying we're not. We cannot be a better team.
They stomped us. They should be ahead of us in the power rankings.
Exactly. Like it's not close.
If it was a close game, maybe. If it was like a 3-point game, sure. But no, it wasn't. No.
And to go into Dallas Dallas has been played very well at home, and you're going to see those stats all week long. But who have they played at home? Like it's these things where I'm just like, wait a second. Yeah, Dallas is really good at home, right? Okay, they played the Jets. They played New England. They played the Rams without Stafford, I believe. They played the Giants. They played Washington and Seattle. How many those teams sound like playoff teams to you? Except maybe the cusp of Seattle. Like, maybe the cusp of the Rams. Like, they're not – it's like – they bring up these stats of there's this and this at home, and it's like, bruh, like, you're not gonna bring up like the 3 losses you have on the road or anything because it's on the road. I just think this Dallas team is getting not too much credit, but I don't think they get enough hate. Like is what I like. As much as we like, for as much hate as we take, and like as much as everyone hates us, like in all the ESPN power rankings, even before the Niners game, like you have Dallas way above us, like, and all this BS. Like, I just don't. I think like it's like how they get the benefit of the doubt every single time they get their stats like skewed.
It's just simply that they make it look better when they're winning. It's just that simple. And on top of that, it's, an obvious fact that, Cowboys will always be America's team, and they're going to get a little favoritism from the national media. It's just always been that way, and it always will be, which sucks. And unfortunately, Philadelphia is a bunch of assholes, so nobody likes to, give us some love. So, to an extent, we deserve it. We ask for it. We are also assholes all the time. So, I can't be mad when we catch some slack. Even though I do get mad, can't really be mad. Not a good reason to be mad. So, we deserve this one. We talked a lot of shit going into this week, and, we got our asses kicked, and now we're going to be going back into next week with something to prove, and we're going to have to do it. So, with that being said, let's hear your predictions. What do you think? I've got a kind of bold one myself.
What?
I got a little bit of a bold one myself, I think.
All right, then you go first. I don't have the exact score in mind, but go ahead.
Well, you guys just know at this point, with a team like this, I'm obviously not picking the Eagles to lose, whether they do or not. So this game, I really have a feeling that, we're going to come out a little hotter with a little bit more to prove, like I've said a few times. And I'm hopeful that the offense can wake back up. We haven't been putting up a lot of points in the last few weeks, and I think this is going to be the turnaround week. And I think we're going to win 31-24.
31-24. All right, I like that. I think it's going to be. I'm going to go a very similar score to happened last time. Very similar spread. I'm going to go 32-27. I think it's going to be one of those games where it's going to come down, or maybe 30. I'll go 31. I'll go 31-27. I think it's going to come down to Dallas driving the ball on us and our defense having to make a big stop. And I think that's going to be the storyline of the game, that our defense finally stepped up. I really hope. I really just want to just limit CD as much as possible. Limit Jake. I just want to limit Dak in general, and we really need to get more pressure on the quarterback. For as much pressure as we have, I want to
keep Dak as uncomfortable as possible. I'm sick of seeing a comfortable quarterback just sitting there in the pocket, being able to make whatever throw they want.
And I mean, like you said, I want to see us get up and do press coverage. I don't want just press man. I want to press man and the safety over top of CD. Like I can't deal with this soft zone where our corners are playing 7 yards off the ball, and when you throw a screen to Deebo, like they have time to get out and running. And
we're not a good enough tackling team to be playing a soft zone.
It's horrible, and it's been awful, sadly, and it's been embarrassing. But as bad of a loss as we had, I don't exactly.
I'm not worried about it yet.
And even this week, you have to go in like we just came off our worst loss since. Do you know when the last time we lost by 2 touchdowns was?
Probably back. I would imagine it was the playoff game against Tom Brady.
Well, it was that wasn't 2 touchdowns. I just said 2 touchdowns. That was like 12 points, but it was week 18 versus Dallas in the 2021-2022 season. And they didn't have anyone in. Before that, it was, I think, week 3 against Dallas. But it's been that long. It's been that long that we
you could have gone without mentioning that both games were against Dallas.
Well, but no one was playing in that game for us.
Yeah, I know. We were both at that game too.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, something like that.
Go to a game together. We went to a winning game, right? No. But that's pretty funny. But it's just like this Sirianni regime. Like you have to give him more credit than. I feel like he gets credit, but I feel like it's not enough. Like he's been spectacular. Jalen Hurts has been spectacular.
I think the Sirianni. I think I'm a little bit on a different side than you to an extent. I think that. It's weird. I think he's okay how he is right now because I think he deserves a little less credit sometimes. But at the same time, like you said, there are times where I feel like it's not talked about enough what he is doing. So I'm kind of in between on him. Sometimes I feel like he doesn't get slack where he deserves it, and he doesn't get enough appreciation where he does. We've talked about the Sai. I've been back and forth on him this year. I think that he does some okay things, but obviously when you look at it overall, we have the 32nd ranked pass defense in the league. And slowly we're falling out of our top position as the best run defense in the league. And on the offensive side of the ball, I think that we have a lot of talent over there, and I think that we make some decent adjustments at halftime. But I think Brian Johnson stinks as a coordinator, simply. I really do. I think he has no rhyme or reason to his play calling, and I think that he kind of just tries things willy-nilly and hopes it's going to work, and that drives me crazy. He has no setup in his play calling, and he doesn't use the run game, as we've talked about frequently. So I'm not going to say he's bad. I think that's a little far, but I think that, I'm sick of him. That's for sure.
I mean, that's a valid statement, but and I also feel like what you're talking about, how Nick Sirianni doesn't get slack. It's kind of because he's not the forward play caller. Like, obviously he can go into the coach anytime. But
that's the part I get annoyed about, is that at what point is he going to be the one that takes over the reins and says, like, all right, dude, we got to run the ball. Like, that's where his responsibility has to come into play, and it doesn't get questioned enough that he lets these coaches, do the same thing all game without making an adjustment. That's where he has to come in. He has to be the adjustment maker, not the coordinators necessarily.
This is 100% true. Yeah, it's a fair point, but I'm speaking in terms of our success level of how we have been the last 2 seasons, and right now we're the best record in NFL. And it was an amazing game for the Super Bowl. Obviously, last year was awesome. I feel like he's
done a great job with what he's been with, and not to mention the fact that I'm sorry to cut you off again, but
no, you're good.
But he's had a different coaching staff every year. He does such a great job that his coaching staff gets robbed of him every year, and he has to come up with a whole new coaching staff every time. And that's not easy. And it goes to show how much success he has. And when you look around the league, a lot of the successful coaches have come from the Eagles coaching tree. And he does a good job. And I think in that regard, you're right. He doesn't get enough credit in that regard. But
look at how good Steichen's doing in the Colts. I didn't think the Colts would be 7-5. They're sitting really well with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback.
Yeah, especially with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback. And we got
hurt Jonathan Taylor. Like it's good for them. Like I mean, whatever. It's Eagles Dallas week. I have to give one. Fuck the Cowboys. Sorry, Sean. I had to get it out. I hate the Cowboys. And let's just have a good week. If we win this, we could all be happy again. And Jalen Hurts is going to be an MVP candidate and all this stuff. But if we lose, we're never going to win a game ever again, according to the national media. So let's have fun. This week-to-week crap is going to drive me up a wall, man.
It really is. I mean, it's been crazy. One of the biggest cases I've seen this year, and this isn't even related to the Eagles, just the way they're praising Jordan Love again. Did you see the roller coaster he's gone through this year in the national media? Like, started off the year hot with 3 big wins. He comes out hot. Everybody's like, it's the next coming of Aaron Rodgers. And then he has a couple bad weeks. And everybody's like, oh, we were wrong. He's a complete bust. And then 2 more good weeks. Oh my gosh, it's the second coming of Aaron Rodgers again.
Dude, the Packers have 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks already. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's the up and down. It's been a weird year. Nobody's been very consistent in the entire league, and it definitely is making for a weird year. Obviously, like you've seen with the MVP conversation, with the fact that it changes week to week, and it's not Tyreek Hill, is just ridiculous.
Dude, all right, let's talk about that real quick before we get out. I have to also take credit where credit's due of me being wrong. I know you took blame for Dak. Purdy has been playing well this year. All right?
We both talked shit on quarterbacks at the beginning of the year, and now they're both 1 and 2 in the MVP conversation. Go figure,
What great takes. What great ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. But I have to also say that Purdy has played very well, and I'm not even gonna say anything else, because I'm not going to say product of the system, and I'm not going to say all this other stuff I want to say, because he killed us and he has played very well. But at what point can you not give it to a quarterback? Like, Tyreek Hill is on pace. He's less than 550 yards away from, he's like 517 maybe, from getting.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
From getting the 2,000 yard mark. At what point can he Is he even in the conversation? Or Christian McCaffrey's having a god season. He already has over 1,000 yards rushing. Now I have to look what he has receiving, but he's gonna have almost 2,500 yards total. Like if he gets no, that's not true. That was bad.
Yeah, that's a lot of yards. But he's gonna be up there.
If he gets 2,000 yards, all-purpose yards with like 18 touchdowns, like how can you not look at one of these two guys and be like, oh, here's your offensive player award? Yeah, it's a battle between you guys. Good job though. Brock Purdy MVP. Like,
yeah, I mean, like and I've been I hate to say this after we just lost to him, but I've been a Brock Purdy advocate all year, and and through last year. But being realistic, I think most 49ers fans would go as far as to say that he is not even a top 3 MVP on their team. And, I think that goes to show what this MVP award means right now. And it's like, I think Brock Purdy is having a fantastic season, absolutely. But I think you could go as far as to say that you could put 4 guys over him in Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, and Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Trent Williams isn't winning some MVP over Brock Purdy, but
they lose.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just making my point that he might not even be the MVP of the 49ers team. And if you aren't the MVP of your team, how are you the MVP of the entire league? It just doesn't make sense, in the sense of the word. And simply, Tyreek Hill is having a historic season that has never been seen before. I think that should validate him for being the MVP, but they're making it very clear that it is a QB award at this point, and I understand that quarterbacks are the ones that distribute the ball to these guys to be able to do their thing, and they are the most important position on the field. But give it a rest. QBs aren't having their best years this year. Give it to the guy that's breaking records.
It's more than absurd, and I just want to see real quick. Yes, I was right. Tua has a better shot at MVP according to Vegas at plus 1,200 and Tyreek Hill's plus 1,600 than Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek is producing for Tua out the butthole. Like, holy crap. Like, it's just like, and I'm not saying Tua's a bad quarterback, or this is nothing at all toward that. It's like,
yeah, but Tua can also say, F it, Tyreek down there somewhere, and just launch that bitch.
Dude, the man gets like 10 receptions a game. Like, it's like he's averaging like 8.5 receptions a game for over 100 yards. Like,
believe me, he's on my fantasy team. I know exactly how good he is. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been doing on the field this year.
And for touchdowns, like it's. I know this is we're going a little long. It's just like. We just needed to bring that up for just a second.
It did have to be mentioned. It is a little ridiculous. We'll see if they change their stance on it by the end of the season, but it's a little crazy.
Yeah, it's absurd. But Dallas week, let's go Eagles. It's scary, but I'm not really. I don't think I'm that scared. I thought I was coming into this podcast. Let's talk it over. Like to see that national media can't just hype up Dallas enough to the point where I cry. So.
I mean, they all seem like reasonable fixes that the team can figure out, see, and actually adjust to. I feel like it's pretty clear and evident what their problems are. So obviously we're hopeful that they're going to make those adjustments. And if they do, I feel like we both agree that we're the better team on the field, and hopefully that'll be the case, but we're just going to have to see because, it has been a little scary the past few games. We've definitely been cutting it close, and I hope this week is going to be the game that, we're going to turn things around and kick into gear. So thank you guys for tuning in today. We really appreciate it. We always do. If you're watching this video, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. We will always appreciate that. And once again, we'll be back again next week covering this Cowboys review and talking about the Seahawks. And hopefully we see you guys next week. Go Birds, and let's get this dub.
Go Birds.
And one more, F the Cowboys.